The brother asked about the claim of Hazrat Zaid to Imamate, the background is that a prominent Urdu scholar has challenged the Imamiyya school of thought that if Imamat is mansoos min Allah, then how come, and he relates and quotes this tradition from Ahlulbayt in which Hazrat Zaid is in conversation with the companion of Imam Baqir. The companion's name is Jafar Awwal. Imam said, my father was very kind to me. He used to feed me chunky morsels of food. And do you think that he would not keep me from fire and not tell me who my Imam is if it was to be my brother? Now, they use that as an example that Imamat is not Mansoos Allah, because even the children of the Imams did not know who the successor of the Imam was. Similarly, and yet the answer seems to be at the end of this riwayah, where the Nasbi stopped quoting, where the Jafar Awwal answers that question by saying, yet do you not believe that Prophet Jacob did not, and Prophet Yusuf did not tell his brothers about his dream, and therefore why should, on the account of their jealousy, then therefore why should your father reveal everything to me? But there may be other answers. Similarly, Nasbis have also quoted the claim by Muhammad ibn Hanfiya to Imamat against Imam Zain al-Abidin. And again, that riwayah is in Asul al-Kafi. But again, the answer seems to be in itself, where they both go to Hijr al-Aswad, and Imam Zain al-Abidin with Muhammad ibn Hanfiya, where Hijr al-Aswad speaks out openly in pure Arabic to confirm the Imamat of Zain al-Abidin. And I think the Sayyid needs to expand and really kill this topic, because it is an important armor in the Nasbi's chain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, with all of these narratives, we have to always on the first level discuss the chain of the narrative. That needs to be understood, as in like, be it a book like Al-Kafi, you have to make sure that you look at the Rijal and who's involved in the narratives and what their political motivations may be. As in, we don't say everything within Al-Kafi is to be taken as set in stone and that it's part of the doctrine. There are certain narratives which may not be taken as being that which formulates the doctrine. On the second level, as the brother himself answered the question, as in I was going to come to the end of the narrative itself, where he replies back to him that Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, there is a dream which he does not necessarily narrate to the brothers. Likewise, there are certain circumstances where the Imams of Ahlulbayt may keep away certain pieces of news from certain personalities because of the political situation of the time, that there may be only a certain close few who they trust with that particular message. On the third level, like the brother mentioned, someone like Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya, when the people were coming out and saying, you are the Imam, you are the Imam, you are the Imam, he said, me and Zain al-Abidin will go towards Hajar al-Aswad. We both will come and say, our salams towards Hajar al-Aswad, and we'll see who Hajar al-Aswad replies back to. And Hajar al-Aswad clearly replied back to Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. So you find that those who came forward, yes, there are political treaties which are written which seek to raise the status of Muhammad ibn Hanafiya. Why? Because they say Muhammad ibn Hanafiya is the uncle of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Then he should be the Imam. Whereas we know Imamate has got nothing to do with age. Imamate is a designation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person can't take a solitary hadith from Al-Kafi and say, look, clearly here, there are many other hadith where Zayd affirms the Imamate of Imam Zayn al-Abidin, or affirms the Imamate of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. Many narrations. Zayd himself, why would he need to go and see Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam before the battle? If you don't believe your brother is an Imam, you wouldn't go and see him and tell him about the battle. You'd actually have a difference of opinion between yourselves. He goes towards him, he asks him for advice, he tells him, what do you think of what I am doing, and so on. So without a doubt, he sees him, but it's the way that you look at the motives of the narrator which affects the conclusion towards the answer.
Absolutely. And on that point, it's clear that Imam al-Sadiq lived in a time of great great transition, as we mentioned earlier. He lived, and correct me if I'm wrong, in a period when the ruling of the Ummah, of the Muslim Ummah, changed from dynasty to dynasty. You had the dynasty of Bani Umayyah, who had obviously oppressed the Ahlulbayt for decades, and which culminated in the atrocity of Karbala. And then during the time of Imam as-Sadiq, you had the Umayyads, the Abbasids, who were actually claiming to fight in the name of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam, who were raising the flag of Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet. From your understanding, what was Imam as-Sadiq's reaction to these political events of his time? You know, did he take a back foot, or did he get involved actively, one way or the other?
You find that the Abbasids, when they raised their slogan that we're going to avenge what happened to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, it seems that the Imams from Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq, knew that these people would turn their backs on this slogan. The Imams themselves had cousins and family members who were angered by the fact that these people who had said that we will give leadership back to the sons of Hussein, the members of the household of the Prophet, now suddenly completely changed their mind and took the leadership for themselves. And you find people such as the Imam having a cousin by the name of Hassan, for example, who was angered by this. You had another cousin of the Imam, Yahya bin Abdullah ibn al-Hassan, who was also angered by this. And they'd come to the Imam, they'd ask him for advice. They'd say to him, what do you think? Do you think we should go out and fight? The Imam himself would say to them, look, I'm telling you not to go out, because with this you will not achieve the victory that you want, and the aim that you have will also not be achieved. But unfortunately, with some of them, they didn't listen to the words of the Imam. They went out. Some even were angered by the Imam to the extent they were willing to stab the Imam. There was one cousin of the Imam who came forward to stab the Imam, yet the Imam still remembered him before he passed away. You find that these people felt a revolution has to be performed. And there were even some of the followers of the Imam who came to him. One of them, I remember, who came to the Imam, said to him, we are ready, we have soldiers, we're willing to fight the opposition. None of us will let you down. We won't let you down like how the people let down Zayd. We won't let you down like the people who let down your grandfather, Imam al-Hussein. Alayhi salam, we're ready to be alongside you. You know what Imam said to the person? He said, you see that oven? Go and sit inside. The person said, sorry? He said, yes, you know that oven there.
Yeah.
Lift the lid and sit inside. The person's thinking, you must be joking, isn't it? Like, I'm going to burn inside. Companion of the Imam, Harun Makki, was walking past. Imam said, Harun, go and sit in the oven, please. At your service. Straight towards the oven, opens, sits inside. The person's thinking, this guy must be burning inside. Harun, come out. Came out. Imam looked at the person, he said, you're telling me you people are ready to fight this opposition. These people who have changed the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi. These people whose behavior is miles away from what the religion teaches. I asked you to go and sit in the clay oven, you thought twice about it. And you think I'm going to trust you on the battlefield? You're telling me to come out and fight, but some of you are the first to be willing to run away when it comes to the crunch. Because why would people be angered by this Abbasids? As in, the Abbasids are from Abbas, the uncle of Rasulullah. Imam is from Abu Talib and Ali's line. Why would there be, disgruntlement? Mansur, what did the people call him? Mansur al-Dawaniqi. Ad-Daniq is the lowest class of people within the society. Very stingy people. You would not find a person who treated his people with stinginess like al-Mansur. As in, there's that famous story when al-Mansur, as a sign of his generosity, al-Mansur would be saying that if anyone writes for me a piece of poetry on a piece of paper, if none of my people in the courtroom, in the palace, have heard it, we'll give the person money equivalent to the weight of that paper. Now you tell me, this piece of paper you have in front of you here, what is the weight of this piece of paper, honestly?
Negligible.
There you go. Mansur said, if my court masters have not heard the piece of poetry, then we'll give you an equivalent to the weight of the paper. If they have, get out of my palace, I won't give you anything. Imagine a Khalifa of Islam like this. You imagine. So, people started coming. He'd always have two hiding behind the curtain. So whenever you read your poetry, those two can memorize quickly. They come out. You know the Arabs, when it came to poetry, they'd come out straight away, and they'd say the piece of poetry. They'd say, sorry, we've heard this before, get out. Al-Asma'i came. When Al-Asma'i came, he entered. Mansour goes, okay, go ahead, recite your piece of poetry. Al-Asma'i recited the most absurd piece of Arabic. Like, you know, he just started speaking like that. So Mansour looked at those two people behind the curtain. He's like, have you ever heard this? They're like, oh, we've never heard nothing like this. So Mansour said, okay, very well. Whatever money you want, give us the piece of paper so we'll weigh it. He said, I didn't write it on a piece of paper. He said, then what? He said, I carved it on a big black rock. So Mansour had a heart attack from how much he had to pay. But imagine that's the Khalifa of the Muslims. First, they lied. They said that they're going to give leadership back to Ahlulbayt. They didn't. Secondly, they treated the Muslims in the way they did. And even in his wasiyah, he told his son, I have left behind for you a treasure chest. His son went to open the treasure chest thinking there's going to be lots of treasure. Inside, 60 heads beheaded from followers of Ahlulbayt. But the Imam recognized, if I come out and fight these people, there'll be civil war. Disunity and Islam will be destroyed. Let's hold back and be patient in this period.
And isn't another argument that the Imam had no desire for this this position anyway? Like, you know, we look at Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, the only reason he took it, alayhi salam, the only reason he took the position of Khalifa is because the people literally forced him. So isn't there another argument that they didn't get involved because they knew that this world is worth nothing anyway to them?
I think it's important to realize that the Imams of Ahlulbayt had a desire to be leaders of the people if it meant that they were going to instill justice in society. That we should never forget, because sometimes people give the impression when they say Imam Ali didn't want to become Khalifa. Imam Ali alayhi salam of course wanted to become Khalifa if it meant he's going to bring justice and he's going to spread the principles of the religion. But he didn't want to become a Khalifa which can be a position given to Marwan or given to someone like Harun. He wanted to be a Khalifa who's going to establish justice on the earth. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam without a doubt would have wanted to be Caliph if he's going to be having the ability to spread his message and to establish justice. But he found that, hold on, if I'm here in Medina and I'm able to establish a message where students are graduating slowly from my class, then maybe this is the way forward to protect this particular school.
Absolutely. And I believe we had another caller. Assalamu alaikum. Salam. Could you just speak up a little bit, brother?
Hello?
Hi, assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, hello.
Sorry, bro, brother, could you turn your television down a bit?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum to
Alaikum assalam.
both of you. And I'm sorry, my question is not related to your topic right now, but it's a good opportunity for Brother Abbas this question about the Ahlebait. Because it's...
Sorry, brother.
The question is that why the Ahlebait is wajib for every Shia people. And,
Why?
Because this concept of not following the Ahlebait spreading is very dangerous. And the second thing is why our IMAMS they don't follow only one Ayatullah, or they make any council like that. So this is just the two questions.
Thank you for the call. I'm not sure I could hear the questions perfect. I think it was in relation to the concept of taqleed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, as in, I think the brother was asking why we have to perform the act of imitating a scholar or following a scholar. Well, you know, if you've reached a level in your particular chosen subject where you become a professor in that field, then you really don't need to imitate anyone because you've mastered all the sciences of BA, MA, PhD and professorship. If, however, you're a BA student and you've just graduated and there's a professor, naturally you're going to imitate that professor because he's mastered all these subjects which you haven't. Likewise in the school of Ahlulbayt, if you're someone who's mastered Arabic grammar and you've mastered the hadith sciences and you've mastered tafsir of the Holy Quran and you've mastered pre-Islamic Arabian poetry and culture and you've mastered all the principles of jurisprudence, when you've mastered all of these, you're not forced to imitate anyone. You can become your own jurisprudent. If, however, you haven't mastered any of these and you have a lack of knowledge in these areas, then you're definitely going to follow someone who is a professor in these areas and has mastered all these sciences. As in, it's something which can be looked at quite rationally.
Absolutely. Again, returning back to the issue of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, I want to go into his relationship with Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, because one thing which always strikes me is that Imam al-Baqir was also known for being very knowledgeable. Obviously, all of the Imams were, but Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam was very much known as being the one with a vast ocean of knowledge, which I believe